Boys and girls, I say this without any exaggeration. This is one of the biggest catastrophes and disasters I've ever seen inside of a gacha game. And it reminds me of back in the day when the Genshin Impact craziness happened and the ways life was getting threatened and all that stuff. This is up there on that level of crash out from the CN community side, at least. And then the developers panic and overcorrect, or just maybe just they're like being petty. And they announced that they're completely canceling the new update along with the brand new character. And then they announced that they're never dropping. They commit a promise saying they're never dropping new characters going forward. This is a nuclear topic of drama within the gacha space. And it's crazy because I just got back from a mini vacation, hanging out with friends and family, having a good time. I come back and it feels like the gacha space is on fire, literally due to this situation. It is exploding on Twitter. I want to just show you guys, just so you have some perspective here. Google Classroom is getting their ass beat again. Yep, Google Classroom getting their ass whooping, boys. What's new, right? I know what's on the agenda. Google Classroom's ass whooping. That's what's on the agenda. It dropped down from 4.4 rating, love and Deepspace, to 2.2. Then Styx updates it again, and it's down to a 1.3 rating on Google Play Store. But apart from that, just to give you a quick little overview, the game has lost 1 million followers across Chinese social platforms amid the outrage. Guys, this was over like 24 to 48 hours ago. They could have lost 3 million followers at this time. Protests turned physical, with players sending funeral flowers, cow dung, curse banners, and ritual items to the studio's office. Boy, y'all seeing players be on some different shit. Sending some symbolical items at them, bro, to let them know you really ain't for these games is crazy work. It's animalistic, barbaric behavior, and honestly, I think these people need to be put in mental asylums. In no way, shape, or form should you ever resort to IRL physicality to send a message to the developers. You send a message with your money, you send a message with your time, you send a message with reviews, and giving Google Play Store a ass whooping. You can do it in those ways. It always works. It lets them know that you will completely stop supporting them and they will conform through those measurements. You never do this type of barbaric behavior. It's completely unhealthy, and the developer should never conform and reward this level of behavior. It's disgusting. In Chinese culture, such items symbolize death, wishes, or spiritual cleansing, highlighting the intensity of the reaction. This is one of the most extreme community backlashes seen in mobile gaming, raising serious questions about player-developer dynamics and live service titles. My thoughts on this before we get into the details, because there are a lot of details, is the developers actually conforming to it was the worst thing they possibly could have done. Because here's right now, they're caught between a rock and a hard place. They're getting ripped in half from their CN community, and now they're getting ripped in half from everyone outside of CN, right? CN's the domestic territory, but outside of that, everyone else is mad. You know why? Because a lot of people were looking toward and forward to Valko, the new character and love interest in your game, outside of CN. And now that you're canceling that, you're now killing that audience in trust and in their playtime on your game and their support to your game. And so you've now butchered that. That's going to be a shit show. And now the CN people are still going to be angry despite you doing what you thought they wanted. This is why you never conform and bend the knee to these people. They are mentally unwell. You could listen to them entirely and they would still be angry at you. And that is why it's the worst decision possible to do what you have already committed to. This is crazy, guys, because look, check this out. I'm going to the Anime Expo in less than 24 hours. And I look at this and they're going, notice of adjustments to Anime Expo 2026 on-site activities. This whole backlash even messed up what they were planning to do at the Anime Expo. Dear Miss Hunters, after careful consideration, we've decided to make adjustments to the on-site activities planned for Anime Expo. I can tell you right now, they were planning to have a big statue of Valko looking sexy and everything was going to be about Valko. Not anymore, not after that CN community backlash. And you know what's wild about this? This is an Anime Expo in Los Angeles in the United States. Why the fuck are you changing your marketing in the United States for people upset in China? They really got y'all by the balls. This is literally so sad. But you know what? The way I think about it is they don't have a choice. If they already announced that they're canceling Valko, then they have to just change everything up to the new schedule of things that they're going to be doing, even if over here in the United States, people would love for them to stay true to what they were getting ready to do. The event will now feature activities centered around 5 love interests, the original 5 characters: Xavier, Zane, Raphael, Silas, and Caleb. So they changed the Anime Expo entirely due to this backlash in CN as well. Now, they did say participants who have secured a spot in Valko's interactive sessions will retain their eligibility to participate. So I imagine there'll still be like a private booth inside of the event, inside of their whole booth, where you can still have some experience with Valko. But bro is canceled. So like, that's, you know what, now that I think about it, that's a legendary experience because you ain't never seeing Valko again. Oh my God. I mean, this is crazy, guys. And here's the funny thing, right? I would like to remind you that Valko is loved in the Western side. I would even say some people in China probably love Valko. It's just the loud 1% that have bullied these devs into not like dropping this update with Valko being the main core focus. But why? Why is the more important question behind this video, which we have the answers in front of us in all kinds of ways on Twitter. Let's get into it. Reason number one for the crash out of Valko. This person says, I'm a veteran player from the CN server. And keep in mind, the CN server is going to be probably 100% women. You might have heard that there is a massive boycott happening in the CN community regarding the new male lead. I want to clarify the situation not to attack anyone who likes the new character, but to expose the developers' deceptive practices and bait and switch tactics. Here's why we are taking a stand, stopping our spending and halting our daily logins. This first one is very important. All the other reasons, I'm going to be like weighing in on them with my own thoughts and perspectives, but I think this person is explaining to a degree a large portion of the CN community players and how they are viewing these things versus how Western people would view them. But this first one, very important. Severe content drop and abandonment of the original 5 characters. The main storyline for the original 5 characters has been completely neglected, with the longest update gap exceeding 500 days. The Bond chapters and side stories that we have been waiting for are nowhere to be seen. So I imagine the Bond chapters and side stories are even outside of the MSQ. So it would appear that just story on all fronts has been neglected for the 5 original characters, or love interests as they would describe it in Love and Deepspace. Instead of finishing what they started, the devs are pouring all their resources into a brand new character. Now, this I find hilarious. First of all, I think they're entirely justified to get on the devs about this. But what I find hilarious is like, I feel like these women playing this Love and Deepspace game are just completely ignorant, not like as an insult, but as opposed to the usual gacha dynamics outside of Love and Deepspace. We over here in the mainstream space, we're like, oh, first time? Like, this happens to us all the time. Like, they drop a character, you get to know them for one patch, and then you never see them again. It's just a regular thing over here outside of the Love and Deepspace. And you know what? When I examine a woman as opposed to a male, these women are really deeply invested into these male characters, almost in a loyal sense. They're in love with Silas, with Caleb, with whomever, to the point where they don't even want new male characters. They just want the new male character in front of them to constantly get character development, story progression, and go into a deep continuation of that particular character they like forever and ever. They would rather the same 5 characters constantly get story updates, attention, and progression than get new characters to invest in all over again. And you know what? I don't fault him for that, nor do I blame him for that. To each their own, so on and so forth. I think some of that could be used in the mainstream gacha space. I genuinely do. I think some of that is missing in the mainstream gacha space. But one thing that became apparent to me as I'm reading this from this CN vet is that Love and Deepspace does what I guess other gacha game companies don't commit to. They say, when we drop these 5 new characters, we're going to continue to work on them and their stories. And so when you think about that, dropping Valko was like, in the eyes of some of these CN players, was an admission that they are already preparing to do what gacha companies do and abandon the 5 main characters who already are on a 500-day drought of not getting updated in MSQ, and they're just going to instead sell you the new character with his story and put the 5 on the back burner, which is typically, again, what happens in the mainstream gacha space. So this is reason number 1 of the nuclear crash out from the CN community. Once again, I do not support the crash out and the way that they went about it. I think they acted like rabid dogs, and they need to be institutionalized, bro. They need to be putting the goddamn things like this where they're rocking back and forth. You throwing cow shit at their office, bro, sending them death wishes and ritual bullshit. Nah, bro, that is not okay. It's absolutely not okay. And the thing is, in that culture, it's odd to me because I feel like the CCP should have cooked them. I'm pretty sure they got cameras everywhere in China to where these people could easily be jailed. I don't know. I guess that's outside of my realm of understanding, but I digress. I did want to give you some support of what I was talking about those 5 original characters. Rather than dropping new characters, they continue to work on them. This person says a blatant bait and switch from day one. Love and Deepspace was strictly marketed in China as having exactly 5 romantic characters. Countless players, including myself, invested heavily based on this established premise. Unilaterally forcing a 6th character into the game is a massive breach of trust and a violation of our consumer rights. We feel our financial and emotional investments are just being used as stepping stones to fund a new character we never asked for. And so this is going to supplement what I was telling y'all earlier. These people are going, we don't want any more characters. We want the 5 you promised us, and we want all the investment to go into those 5 characters. And that's what y'all promised us in the beginning. Now, I don't know because I don't play Love and Deepspace, but I doubt this person would just make that up, right? I always welcome any types of information that more CN people can input on this video as I strive to bring an accurate analysis and coverage of it. But that's crazy because that's so vastly different from what everybody else is used to in the gacha space. We're all used to getting a bunch of different characters and just forgetting about the characters they initially just sold us. But moving on to the second reason why the CN crash out occurred. Keep in mind, this reason is going to tie into a lot of different information, perspectives, and just shit getting thrown on Twitter as to what's happening. It does kind of like, it's like the focal point of it. What makes us angriest is the double standard. Domestically, the game was strictly advertised as a female-oriented otome game, right? So a game only catering to women. Yet overseas, it is being promoted to a general all-gender audience. Now, I find this very odd. This two-faced marketing proves the company is willing to lie to its core audience just to maximize profits. So this is the perspective of this CN vet, not the fact. This is their perspective. This is how they are viewing. They're saying, you told us you're only going to promote this to women, but overseas, you're promoting this to women and gay people. That's how their perspective is viewing this. And they're saying, this is two-faced. You're lying to us. I think this is a bit fucking weird. I'm going to be honest, because you guys are kind of like just schizoing out due to, I guess I don't know, some of you, and I'm not going to say this is all of CN, but definitely you and the other core audiences, your, I guess, disagreement with gay people is getting in the way of your judgment of the marketing. The marketing could very well be the exact same marketing that you're getting over there in CN, but because over here in the West, where LGBTQ is accepted, you are thinking they're promoting to all general audience, but they're just doing the same promotion, but gay people are going, hell yeah, yes, bitch, he's hot. I feel like all of that is happening. It's just an inherent thing that's going to happen over here in the West and other places that accept it. And y'all are going, wow, this is two-faced. I'm like, what? No, it's not two-faced, bro. The fuck are you waffling about? You might not see that in CN. That doesn't make it two-faced to do it in other regions. But it's fascinating to me because I'm seeing maybe this is the mentality, and they feel this way. The CN vets or community over there in China, they feel this way, and that's how they're viewing it. And so they're mad about it. And it's like, what? So let's continue on. Why this matters to you. This person is saying this should matter to us based off of this reasoning. We aren't here to police how global players feel. Well, low-key, you're doing it indirectly by getting mad at the developer, though. But please understand, the CN server contributes the vast majority of the game's revenue. Although this may come off as like condescending and pompous to somebody reading this person, it's true, though. The CN side does contribute to the vast majority of the game's revenue. Therefore, they would be the core audience. That is true, as much as you don't want to hear that. We're fighting this battle because if the developer learns they can get away with abandoning older characters and breaking their core promise just to chase new markets, they will eventually do the exact same thing to you. Now, I actually agree with this mentality, but here lies the problem. They already do that. They already do that over here. And so everybody's normalized it. They're used to it. They're used to developers selling you characters and then abandoning characters and selling you new ones. And so this isn't a problem over here in the West, or probably in other territories outside of CN, because that's kind of what already happens in gacha games. It's only a problem to the CN side because you're playing a Love and Deepspace game with a unique dynamic in its gacha predatory practices, where it's actually only had 5 characters for, I guess it came out in 2024. So I guess going on 2.5 or going on 2.5 years, somewhere around there. And so y'all are finding this odd. In reality, the new Valko character getting pitched to people in the West is nothing but excitement because we're already used to the dynamic over here of getting new characters to pull on and acquire as a collection to what we already own. Now, I can understand the CN players saying we're fighting this battle because they promised us these 5 characters that they were to continue to update them. It's been 500 days. Fuck y'all. I understand that mentality and I understand fighting the battle. I don't understand how y'all let them go 500 days without doing it. I feel like you're a little bit late to that battle, but the way y'all have went about it, the physicality, the in-person cow shit, death wishes and all that is the most embarrassing, disappointing, and criminal behavior and barbaric actions to get these things done. As I said before, you leave bad reviews, you uninstall the game, you stop spending money. All of these will do the exact same thing, and it'll do it in a diplomatic and mature way that can still achieve the same result. But see, this whole thing that you just did kind of just like blew up, and now the devs are saying they're never releasing new characters again, and people are like, wait, what? Over here in the West. But when you see this context, now you see why the devs saying they're not releasing any more characters. And I feel this was important to look at because I think a lot of people are going, what do you mean you're not releasing any new characters? What an overcorrection. What an overreaction. Are you guys idiots? Are you insane? Apparently, that was what they wanted in CN. No new characters, just those 5. Focus on them. And so this gives a lot more understanding to the situation for me personally, because my first knee-jerk reaction was, what? No more new characters? Huh? The fuck's wrong with them? If that's what the people wanted in CN and the CN people are paying the most money, then that kind of makes sense. Now let's look at this pie chart right here to supplement this. Yeah, so check this out. Love and Deepspace revenue distribution by region Q2 2026. Now take it with a grain of salt in terms of the dead spot on accuracy of it, because there's no source for this. This is just some Twitter user with a bunch of likes and stuff. But if there's no source for it, I take it with a grain of salt. That said, 76% of mainland China is responsible for the spending in Love and Deepspace. And then Hong Kong's under the 4%. So we can actually just say that's 80%. Then you have 11% United States, right? That's the West. You have Japan and South Korea. That's the East. And then you have 3% Europe and 1% Southeast Asia. Now, I did ask Grok earlier, or I guess it deleted it, the validity of this. And Grok was like, yeah, no, I don't really see any source verifying these exact numbers. I think Grok said it's actually more closer to 60% based off data I can scrap from other sources. But we can definitely come to a conclusion that CN is spending the majority of the money. And so when you look at this and we say, let's say it's 60%, not 76, 60%, and then you add in Hong Kong, probably a little bit more than that, it doesn't matter. That is the majority of their spending. And so if that particular player base is complaining, guess what? As a business, you're going to say they are the ones spending the most money. Those are the people we're going to adhere to. That's just business, guys. You can be mad at it all you want, but that's what they're going to do as a business. They're going to look at that and go, well, shit. Looks like we're going to have to adhere to them. You know, we're going to have to go to the highest bidder. This information gives a lot more data to me. Now, here's the funny thing. This person saying that the deceptive practices, you're targeting gay people and all this stuff. It's weird because I'm like, where is this coming from? What do you mean they're targeting like gay people overseas? Like, are you saying that Valko is for gay people? Because that wouldn't make sense. He's just a hot buff dude. Of course, gay people will be attracted to him. That doesn't mean all gay people are going to be attracted to him, but gay people will be attracted to him as well as women. But to say that he is like for a gay audience is, it's just like you're ignorant, you're delusional. And I've been seeing this being supplemented online, to the point where now I understand it's a cultural difference in what is depicted as male attraction. What makes a male attractive in the Eastern culture versus the Western culture. And believe it or not, I've seen this. If you ever look at Eastern games, you'll see the male characters are incredibly pretty, almost too pretty, to the point where you might even think they look like women. But this is a depiction of male attraction over there in the East a lot. And furthermore, you'll see very rarely in all of these games a buff male character. You usually see they're quite slender, they're in shape, they got the six-pack, they got the chiseled chest and the toned arms, but they aren't buff. This also happens to do with, again, that East versus West depiction of male attraction and what they like ideally as a male attraction. So this kind of supplements it. And then when you see like somebody like this guy, which I'm gonna see if I can find it here real quick. Yeah, when you see this guy, which to be honest, He's buff, he's swole, but there's even swoller people out there. I mean, you're talking to a personal trainer, so there's like different levels of what I view as a swole person. But you've got people saying, by the way, the CN fan base doesn't want Valko because he's tan, that's fucking hilarious. I mean, I guess, what am I? I guess I'm black as fuck over there to the CN people. I've already covered this in the past, though, by how CN people or Easterners view different skin tones. They think as white as possible is as perfect, is equating to as perfect as possible. That is a thing. It is. And like the freaking the darker your skin over there, the more they view as like a peasant or somebody who doesn't make a lot of money, or you come from poverty or like a lower class. That's just the way the culture is. And to be fair, when you look at their history, a lot of the farmers and lower class people were out in the fields in the sun, getting it in because they didn't have a lot of money. And so it is more of like kind of like a cultural misunderstanding across the board, but they do have an inherent prejudice or racism inside of their culture due to this. I don't even know if it's harmful. Like, I don't think it is. I don't think there's malice behind it. It's just kind of how the upbringing occurred. Of course, CN people could always provide more insight down below, but too masculine. He looks gay, which is crazy to say, and he's too buff. As funny as this is, and as funny as it sounds to us, this is a sentiment shared by a lot of them. And so once again, another misunderstanding culturally where they think they're like promoting to the West, and they're promoting to gay people. And it's like, bro, we're just making a hot male character. Like, what? It's odd to even view it that way. Now, I brought up more people to kind of like supplement this. I brought up Captain Cabinets. Eastern women, especially in otome romance communities, prefer men that are androgynous. That means like they're like a mixture of a pretty boy with not overly buff, like, but a good enough muscle to still look attractive, youthful, and more slim. I completely agree. If you look at any Eastern games, you could see this is true. Why do you think idols look the way they do? Buff, rugged men are often seen as something that's more gay-centric. They also see buff men as being a bit more intimidating and unsafe. These are all bars she's spitting, by the way. This is the difference in culture, though apparently there are movements in China to change this mindset and aim for a more balanced outlook on masculinity. What are your thoughts? So she shows a person that is typically going to be the male attraction in CN communities, or even, I would even say, Eastern. Here's another picture of the guy with like a bulging bicep, basically. A nice toned bicep. Now let's look at some of the feedback of the communities. This is where shit gets crazy. All right, this is where you start to see the Western side versus the Eastern side. You start to see racism, prejudice, because here's the thing I will say, guys. There are absolutely a lot of racist CN people. There's a lot of racist Western people, but the thing is, people think that this doesn't exist, and it exists. It has existed since the dawn of like gaming. You're able to see it thanks to the advancement of social media and technology, allowing you to see, you know, the thoughts of different sides. We're never having this because of a bunch of insane cunts in China thought this character was too tan and Western. I hope all future updates for every lead they love will look like shit to them in the future. So that's one. All right, now here's some of the CN players' perspectives. Keep in mind, it's about to get a little insane. It's about to get a little out of control here. There really are so many Western white whores that you've forgotten who your main donor is. Only beggars would be grateful for free stuff, right? It should be African refugees. Yeah, it's about to get insane, boys. I'm gonna be honest with you. Let me give you some advice. Make this a region exclusive. We in the CN server can just do without it. I think they're talking about Valko. Since it's not really catering to our aesthetic standards anyway, in the future, just make a limited version for whichever market you want to expand to. See, this is supplementing the very thing I just explained to you. If you want to break into the African market and make a black character, I don't care. Just don't put them in my game. Valko, I want to remind you, Valko. Let's find him. This is the guy. Brother man. This is not black. Holy. I support. All right, continuing on, another one. And these are the people info will cater to. Get lost, you dumb pig. Get it straight what game you're playing. This is China's game, and anything that doesn't respect Chinese players sure as hell don't belong here. Chinese games are, of course, serving Chinese players, and if we don't like it, whoever it is just has to die. If you got the guts, don't go online to claim those 30 draws. Oh my God. Who's the parasite? Chinese players are the main body, you idiot. You can play the game all because you're picking up leftovers from the Chinese. You know that beggar-like idiot. If you got the guts, don't play Chinese games at all. Who the hell do you think you are? The money you spent couldn't even afford a single hair on your favorite male lead. You get to play this game at all because we poured our cash into it. Cry about it. You're nothing. Are you crying so desperately already? Stop kneeling and playing games made by Chinese people, or even a deceased parents won't be able to stand by and watch. I can read more of this stuff, but the truth is, guys, this is a reality of a lot of these players. They're mentally unwell in the head. They get on their pompous high horses and start like trying to look down on people. It gets out of control, dog. It really does. Apparently, a lot of CN players are cheering for winning the war against Wolf, but they're also still mad because of the 731 issue. Okay, now here's another issue. This is another reasoning as to why people are mad in China. Apparently, there's this issue. Apparently, the banner where he shows up outside of NC's apartment is a direct reference to a real criminal stalking case that happened in China. I've seen people say some of the voice lines are very similar to details from the case, though I can't personally verify whether that's true. If it is true, I think there's a difference between exploring a fantasy and fiction and potentially drawing a direct inspiration from a real life stalking case involving an actual victim. I think there's validity to that perspective, right? I think that if they're drawing from real life inspirations, they obviously need to get the approval of the people that were affected before they proceed to do that. And if they didn't, they're out of pocket. However, if they did, then I think it's fair game. But something tells me they probably didn't get the approval of any of these people to put this in the game, and they put it in there and took too much inspiration. And so people who take problems with that in China, it's an overly sensitive topic. I think it's completely valid and another reason as to why they're crashing out in China. Now, overall, I think when I'm looking at all of this stuff, it does seem to be a cultural clashing, a cultural disparity between the East and West. And then you've got people like, doing what people do on the internet, especially in the gacha space, which is get vitriol, get malicious, and start crashing out and saying very unreasonable things that don't contribute to the betterment of Love and Deepspace at all. I think the worst thing the Love and Deepspace developers could have done was conform and delete Valko. I don't think that solves anything. I think these crybabies online in the CN community are still going to bitch no matter what you do. So that was just an L on your behalf. All you did was put a knife in your own side for the rest of your audiences that do like Valko. I think the best thing you could have done was what you actually already did with your letter, which I would like to now bring this up because I think this is very important. In this letter, they shouldn't have announced number one. This was the dumbest thing they could have announced. We decided to cancel both the launch and any further development of new love interests. We commit that no additional love interests will be introduced. This is the dumbest thing you could have done. You're a fucking idiot. It was a knee-jerk emotional reaction, and you kind of just showed that y'all don't have any backbone. What you should have done was all this right here. Going forward, the entire team will focus on further developing the stories and long-term companionship experiences of our 5 existing love interests. This is what you should have done, while ensuring a stable pace of main story production and updates. Raphael, all of our characters, they're going to be getting their MSQ updates that we should have been delivered you guys. We effed up. We're sorry, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen in July. This is what they're describing. It's going to happen in August. It's going to happen in September. You are going to get the thing we said we promised we would do. We apologize. But what we will not do is delete Valko. We will not delete this update. Too many of our team members have poured their hard blood, sweat, and tears into making this come to life. They haven't done anything wrong. They only listened to what we told them to do. And a lot of people do want this update to go through anyways. It can't be done. We've already gone too far for it. It's going to come out whether you like it or not. That said, if you want to skip this update entirely because you don't support it, you can do so. But if you are looking forward to those male characters coming out with their MSQ updates, we are going to deliver them to you promptly and swiftly. That's the best thing you could have done. Who you would have lost anyway. And I'll be honest with you, the fact that they're crashing out this hard about their love interests, they would have came back anyway for July characters. They would have been there anyway. You just would have had to weather the storm, listen to these crybabies bitch and moan on the internet, and all would have ended up being well the minute you delivered those MSQs for the characters they fell in love with. It's clear they fell in love with pixels, fictional pixels, to the point where they're this emotional. This is the problem with some of these mentally online people. They get so overly emotional that they show you that they'll still support your game the minute you drop what you want them to drop. Hey, it is what it is. I will say this game has lost like millions of followers across the platforms. I think they lost a lot of momentum. I do think this is going to put a massive crutch in the game's reputation because the developers bent the knee, and you do not bend the knee. It's never going to look good for y'all. But it is what it is, man. There's also all kinds of stuff that you can look at on Twitter. I've opened up a plethora of threads here showing how many different people feel about it. Here's one saying bring back Valko, where they have 90,000 signatures. And keep in mind, guys, this was like, June 30th at 3:42 p.m. It's the first at 12:37. This was like 19 hours ago. This petition thing could very well be at 200, 300,000 people saying bring back Valko. That's a lot of people petitioning to bring back Valko. There's a lot of things happening on the internet that are pretty much like splitting the communities in half amongst CN versus the rest of people's sentiments. But this is a disaster. Yeah, there's no other way to put it. But overall, that is pretty much the Love and Deepspace situation in a nutshell. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. And if you feel like I didn't add in whatever the hell you feel needs to be added in, add it in. I don't really care. I just wanted to cover this situation because it really was just absurd on so many different levels. But yeah, peace, love, and happiness. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Thanks for watching. Peace.